Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Contents Patch for the 26th of November 2012. My name is TotalBiscuit, bringing you around 20 minutes of gaming news and comment. Coming up in the show, Atari founder predicts Nintendo's doom. We will find out why. Czech president joins Arma 3 cause. Eurocom lays off 150 employees. Game to partner with IGN. And Warface receives 5 million registered users. Nolan Bushnell, the founder of Atari, has claimed that the Wii U marks the end of an era for Nintendo. In a recent interview with the New York Times, he claimed that the dual-screen approach has him baffled, and claims that he believes Nintendo really will not be of any major import ever again, and that it feels like an end of an era to him. He added, of course, that the Wii U will not be a big success, in his honest opinion. Well, he'd hardly be the first one to claim that this system really isn't going to be all that. That's actually the popular thing at the moment. The funny thing is, the idea of being baffled by the dual-screen approach is an outdated idea. It's the same idea that came along with the DS. Why on earth would you have two screens? What's the point of having two screens? Well, as was proven, there is a great deal of point and use in having two screens, and it can be adapted in a wide variety of different ways, even for more traditional games. As regards to the Wii U, you have the same kind of system. You've got this idea that you have access to a high-resolution second screen in your hand that gives you access to a wide variety of different useful functionality. Let's talk about that. So I've had my Wii U for a few days. Let me talk about the ways that I've found this thing to be useful. Firstly, it's useful as a television remote. You can very easily key it in to become your TV remote, which means that you can control everything from a single device. The downside of that being that the current battery life of the thing is only about 3.5 hours, so you need to return to its charging cradle more often than not. The ability to pull most games down to the tablet's display while someone else watches television or indeed even plays on a different console is also a very useful thing to do. I was actually using it to switch between consoles while I was updating and downloading things on my PlayStation 3. And I know that's not something that a lot of people will have use for, but I can certainly see the appeal of it, especially when this console is plugged into a family television. If someone wants to watch TV, yet someone else is gaming on console, then now you are able to do both without really sacrificing anything. Another thing that I found useful is the ability to take the game downstairs. I can play console-quality games on my couch downstairs, which is where my television and console is not. That is surprisingly useful. It's quite nice to be able to do that. If, for instance, I'm cooking and I need to keep an eye on what's going on in the oven, I can take the console downstairs and I can use it down there. If I need to keep an eye on the chinchillas as they're running around and hopefully not destroying everything, then I'm able to do that without having to sacrifice the ability to play good quality console games. Once again, it sounds very much like a first world problem, but at the end of the day, it's a new video game console. Everything related to it is going to be a first world problem. Now, the most useful thing I found with this is the ability to play split-screen games on two separate screens. For the longest time, when you play local co-op in certain titles, you've had the split-screen problem, whereby it splits the screen down the middle, it becomes less pleasurable to play, the resolution goes down, it's harder to see. You're even suffering from the idea that someone could cheat by looking at your screen. You cannot do that anymore. I was playing Tank, which is okay. It certainly wasn't worth the money I paid for it, but it was a lot of fun nonetheless. And I went into two-player split-screen mode, and what it did was it just gave me my screen on the pad. Easy. So someone else who was playing got to play in full screen. That was pretty awesome. The game also has another game mode called My Kong, which allows you to play as a big monster with your face, I might add. You use the camera to take a picture, it superimposes that face onto the monster, and you gain a wide variety of different powers, and you have to try and destroy the other tanks on the screen. So you can do this 3-on-1 asymmetrical multiplayer mode, which is what the machine is really, really good at. That's the standout feature of the tablet pad, and having that screen there, is you can do this asymmetrical setup. You can design games now in such a way that one player has more information than the other players and is able to manipulate the world in a different way. That was impossible to do in local multiplayer prior to this. There are other useful elements to this particular pad as regards to hardcore games. The idea is that you can use the screen as an inventory screen or as an additional interface, which means you can bypass the button limitation on traditional pads. This is the first time we've really been able to do that without a full mouse and keyboard setup, which means that we could get more complex games for the Wii U, more traditional games for the Wii U that aren't limited by such things as, oh, you can only carry 2 weapons because we only have enough buttons on the pad to make that work. It can result in cleaner UIs, better inventory, better menu management, all sorts of different things. It's an interesting comment, really, by someone that has, in fact, been responsible for creating a number of complete and total flops. It's not really a slight against him, but at the end of the day, he knows that there can be unexpected successes within the industry and there can be unexpected failures. Atari has certainly been at the helm of many of those. I feel, if anything, Nintendo has consistently proven that they're able to come up with an idea and then convince people that it works. This is the modern Nintendo. The old Nintendo kind of sucked at that. Power Glove, Virtual Boy, and many other examples of pretty terrible stuff. Ever since the release of the DS, Nintendo has proven time and again that they can make these odd concepts work and that they're taking consoles in a different direction. I think the Wii U is actually pretty promising. I'm enjoying mine a great deal, and I feel that over the next 6 months we're going to see whether or not this potential can be realized or whether or not it will be an expensive flop. A few days ago, I told you about a story involving 2 Arma 3 devs from Bohemia Interactive that have spent the last few months in jail in Greece on charges of espionage. Well, the story is continuing to get wider attention, with Czech Republic leader Václav Klaus publicly appealing to the Greek president to try and have the developers released. In his statement, he said, "I would like to address a matter of 2 Czech citizens who were arrested in Greece and charged with espionage. The case is very sensitive to the Czech public and also to me as president of the republic. The fate of our citizens anywhere in the world matters to us. I have no doubt that the democratic Greek authorities, police, prosecutors, and the courts will consider this unfortunate matter impartially and independently. Even I do not in any way want to interfere with their work. I want to ask you, Mr. President," referring of course to the Greek president, "to follow this unfortunate affair with special attention, considering the excellent relations between our nations, so this does not throw unnecessary shade onto our relationship. Once again, I wish to assure you that I have the utmost certainty that our accused citizens will be given all the rights in the search for justice by the Greek authorities." Here's hoping this whole thing gets sorted out, because quite frankly, it is getting beyond a joke, and it doesn't seem reasonable at all that these 2 developers are being treated in such a manner. Developer Eurocom has announced that they will be forced to make a large number of redundancies, with only 50 staff remaining at the studio. This means that approximately 150 employees will unfortunately be let go. This follows a rather worldwide panning of the latest title 007 Legends, which was published by Activision. The studio itself is very much a work-for-hire kind of company. If you look through their history, the majority of games that they release are licensed titles, and a publisher with the license goes out and says, "We need this made." And that's what ends up happening. Eurocom are the guys who generally do it. The sad thing about this is that they actually have, regardless of the fact that they've had to deal with a ton of licensed nonsense, a reasonable number of good titles under their belt, including 007 Reloaded. They have Dead Space Extraction. They also made Quantum of Solace, which was not a bad Bond game. They made Batman Begins, which was also not a terrible licensed title either, I have to say. And their history when it comes to James Bond development is really quite fantastic. They released 007 Nightfire, which was, as far as I'm concerned, one of the best titles that's ever been made in the Bond franchise aside from GoldenEye itself. Unfortunately, it appears that the time frame they were given by publisher Activision was not exactly reasonable. There are widespread reports that 007 Legends was developed in a very short period of time, which resulted, of course, in an absolutely awful game. The fact that this is still happening with licensed games is making me sick. It really is. This doesn't even make any sense. If this was the Skyfall game, maybe I can understand rushing it. Maybe. Because, hey, you got to get it out in time for the movie, right? But no, 007 Legends was not the Skyfall game. It was kind of a best of, or at least it was supposed to be, across the entire franchise. There was no need to rush this out at all. And unfortunately, it's resulted in a really bad title and a bunch of job losses. Oh my god, when will publishers learn? Licensed titles can be good, and as Eurocom has demonstrated, there have been plenty of licensed titles they've created that haven't sucked. They haven't necessarily been amazing. Some of them are amazing, like, say, Nightfire, which was an incredible game. But there is absolutely no need to shovel this stuff out. There's a reason it's called shovelware. It's disgraceful, and it's now resulted in 150 very talented staff being let go from a studio, so I very much hope to see them picked up by other studios going forward. As for 007 Legends, it's a game that I do need to have a look at some point, and no doubt it will not be a favorable look, but I will get around to it eventually. There have been other higher priorities of late. UK retailer Game Stores Group Limited has announced that it will be partnering with IGN, centered around some special community events and live streams. There hasn't really been anything specific released as to what this partnership will involve, aside from the idea that there will be special events in-store as well as live-streamed gatherings of gamers and special guests in game stores. As to why you'd want to do that, I cannot imagine, but it seems like that's what they're going for. A couple of quotes. The Game Retail Limited CEO Martin Gibbs said, 2012 has been a significant year for Game, and we are ambitious and excited about 2013, kickstarting the year with this partnership with IGN. He went on to say that gamers absolutely love IGN, okay, and our customer research has reinforced what a great fit this is for our brand. The partnership offers us an exciting opportunity to maximize our engagement with gamers both in store and online, and ultimately helps us achieve our ambition of building the UK's most valuable community of gamers. Yes, it has indeed been a very exciting year, a significant year for Game, considering they went bankrupt this year. Yeah, that's pretty significant, I suppose, and exciting in one way or the other, so a rather odd way of describing 2012 there for Game. IGN's Ian Chambers also weighed in on this, saying, we're delighted to be working with the UK's largest specialist game retailer on this pioneering partnership, bringing the IGN and Game communities together around their shared passion. Our partnership will set the standard for how a media owner and retailer can collaborate to deliver impactful community engagement, whatever the hell that means. You know, am I the only one? I'm sure I'm not. Anyone that ever says that, it's like, am I the only one? No, that's never the case. You are not a unique and beautiful snowflake. But why is it that I'm a little bit concerned about this whole thing? Okay, so we've got a major, and I do mean major games media outlets partnering with a major retailer. Is there not a conflict of interest there when it comes to journalistic integrity, I have to wonder? Well, it may be an unreasonable thing to suggest, honestly. This is not exactly a case of a publisher partnering with IGN, which would be a very clear conflict of interest, but it's very much a case of a large online media outlet partnering with a brick-and-mortar store. It seems backwards to me, and it also seems like a little bit of a desperate grasp by Game and, of course, other brick-and-mortars to stay relevant in a world that's going increasingly digital. The thing which really gets me is that IGN has always been digital, so why on earth would they want to back the old-school model? Now, you might think, well, what's the harm in it? Honestly, when it comes to Game in the UK, Game have been responsible for a number of moves which have disrupted the ability of UK consumers to buy certain games on Steam. For the past couple of years, we've had games just not be released on UK Steam because of pressure applied to the publishers by big brick-and-mortar UK retailers that don't want Steam's dominance to continue. They very much don't want digital in the space at all, unless they are the guys controlling it. So, as far as I'm concerned, the last thing I want is someone with the power of IGN to be continuing to push the agenda of the brick-and-mortars. That is not helpful to gamers in any way. That is anti-consumer. I suppose it remains to be seen exactly how far this partnership will really go. If it's just a case of, hey, we're going to live stream some stuff from our store, then I really couldn't care less. Why you'd want to do something like that in the first place, I don't know. But it does concern me greatly to see two rather titanic organizations partnering in a way that doesn't really seem to be beneficial to anyone except themselves. The only positive thing I can really think of in regards to this is whether or not they actually also partner with IPL. And if you're able to see esports content in a game store, for instance, being able to spread that idea to a wider audience would be absolutely wonderful. But considering IGN's reluctance to really promote anything IPL related, it doesn't seem like that's going to happen. And finally, Crytek's Warface has reached 5 million registered users in Russia. The free-to-play online shooter developed by Crytek Kiev seems to have taken off in a really big way indeed. Despite a lot of publicity at US-based events, Warface is currently only available in Russia. Tryon Worlds will be handling the publishing rights in the US, New Zealand, Turkey, Australia, and Europe, with Nexon dealing with it in South Korea and Taiwan. However, it does appear that this has done very, very well indeed, to the point where it received the prize for Best Online Game at Russia's Runet Awards. On the subject of its success, Vladimir Nikolsky, the vice president of publisher Mail.ru Group Game Division, has said, a combination of first-class visuals and gameplay that is second to none, Warface stands out from the crowd and promises to attract even more attention from players in the future. The 5 million registered users milestone speaks volumes about the quality and the appeal of Warface. At present, there is no confirmed release date in Europe or the US. It's an interesting looking game, honestly. I've been looking forward to getting my hands on it for a while. It doesn't seem like it's anything special per se, but it does seem like it's very much a AAA free-to-play shooter that is enjoyable and solid. I also like the idea that it's a free-to-play shooter with a PvE component. It's actually got a set of multiplayer co-op missions, and they keep adding to these as the game goes forward. It's got full class-based PvP, as well as really fantastic-looking visuals. Also, it appears to have a mech in it, which as far as I'm concerned is always a selling point. Hopefully we'll get a chance to play the beta and show you what it's all about. Unfortunately, however, unless you are Russian, then you don't get to play it. If you are Russian and watching this channel, then congratulations, go have a shot. It looks like a hell of a lot of fun. Okay, folks, that wraps me up for today's content patch. Thank you very much for watching. Couple of quick announcements. First, thank you to everyone that supported the Maya Kickstarter. An unbelievable surge. We actually managed to raise about £30,000 in less than 24 hours, which pushed the Kickstarter well beyond what it needed to succeed. There are currently stretch goals available on the site, and I would strongly recommend that if you haven't backed it yet, you go and do so. It's not particularly expensive, and the game is looking phenomenal. So thanks a lot for your support on that one. The game looks great, and I'm hoping they can deliver. Also, as of today, I am in Vegas for a week, casting at IPL 5. I'll be trying to continue my regular content patch content as best as I can, and I'll also be providing you a few pieces here and there of stockpiled stuff. If you are attending IPL 5, whether it be for Shootmania, StarCraft 2, or League of Legends, then please do come say hi when you get the chance. That will all be going on at the Cosmopolitan Hotel in Las Vegas. Looks like it's going to be a good time and a great tournament. Thanks a lot for watching, folks, and I will see you next time.